This is a public service announcement brought to you by Hindsight. Relax, rest your eyes, and listen to the words of Pastor Chuck.
All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes. You know, we can justify just about anything we ever have done or ever will do. You know, I was right. It was the others who were wrong. And the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes. We justify ourselves. Several years ago, in the early days here at Calvary Chapel, I was called over to the Orange County Jail by the sheriff. They had a prisoner who had been accused of murder and tried and convicted, who wanted to be baptized in water. And so they called me and asked me if I would be willing to baptize this man. And so we went over to Santa Ana, and we used the baptistry of the First Christian Church. And this fellow was brought in chains by the sheriff, and they undid him and stood on either side with guns and all as I baptized this fellow in water. It was an interesting experience. But the man started talking to me about the murder that he had committed. He had murdered his father-in-law. And he began to tell me what a bum his father-in-law was. I mean, by the time he was through telling me the story, you'd say, man, you did the world a favor getting rid of that guy, you know. It's interesting how that we can justify, but it's sort of necessary for our mental health because the hardest thing for us to deal with is a guilt complex. The guilt complex always develops a subconscious desire for punishment, which is usually manifested in a neurotic behavioral pattern. And thus for mental well-being, you just can't carry guilt too long, so you've got to justify yourself. But that doesn't do it with God. God has another way of removing your guilt by just taking away the sin. But a man's ways are clean in his own eyes. But the Lord is weighing the spirits. You may justify yourself, but that won't count before God. You must have that forgiveness. God sees the spirit. God weighs the spirit. But the glorious thing is that God is willing to forgive no matter what you have done. But it isn't by your justifying it, it's by your confession of it. If we say we have no sin, if we say it wasn't wrong, then we deceive ourselves. The truth in it isn't in us. But if we confess our sin, then he is faithful and just to forgive us and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So the way of cleansing, the way of forgiveness, doesn't come by justifying yourself, but it comes by confession of that sin. And it's asking of God for forgiveness. He's faithful and just and shall forgive. He that handleth a matter wisely shall find good. And whoso trusts in the Lord, happy is he. You put your trust in the Lord, happy. How important that we handle matters wisely. How can I handle a matter wisely? By putting my trust in the Lord. That's the key to handling the matter wisely. You handle a matter wisely, you find good. The wise way to handle any matter is just to trust the Lord. The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning. Then understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it. But the instruction of fools is folly. Now, interesting. The instruction of fools is folly. The Bible says, in defining the fool, a fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. The instruction of fools is folly. Therefore, it is folly to be instructed by atheists. The instruction of fools is folly. It's amazing to me what foolish things people will believe when they reject the truth of God. It's amazing what people will believe when they have rejected the truth of God. It's amazing how they can be so gullible. The Bible gives us the reason. Because they did not have the love of the truth, God gave them over to believe a lie. God gave them a strong delusion. Because they didn't have the love of the truth. How important to have the love of the truth. But understanding, a wellspring of life, but the instructions of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teaches his mouth and adds learning to his lips. And so a few proverbs that deal with wisdom. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb. They're sweet to the soul and health to the bones. Again, a word spoken in due season, how good it is. Pleasant words. They're just as a honeycomb. They're just sweet and they're healthy. The power of the tongue to heal, to encourage, to comfort. The power of the tongue to destroy, to cut. This is the second time this proverb is put in the book. I always figure if God repeats something, it must be very important. There is a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof are the ways of death.
You have been listening to Pastor Chuck. This public service announcement has been brought to you by Hindsight. If you found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and comment if you wish. We at Hindsight says, thank you for your time.